UNDP said that Vietnam is moving toward living with COVID-19 safely. Vietnam plans to reopen to international tourism in June 2022. 10 domestic air routes proposed to be resumed from October 10th. Vietnam calls for efforts in tackling illicit trade in small arms, light weapons. Various activities to celebrate Hanoi's 67th liberation anniversary. Hello and welcome to FBNC News with latest updates from Vietnam. It's Yến Trần. Vietnam would completely reopen the country to international travelers from June 2022 by slowly reopening some tourist spots before returning to full activity after the country shut borders in March 2020 due to COVID-19. The National Tourism Administration said in a statement published recently that international tourism will return first in areas considered low risk, such as Phu Quoc Island, one of the country's tourist jewels, which plans to welcome vaccinated international tourists from November. After the pioneering Phu Quoc initiative, other emblematic places of Vietnamese tourism, such as Hạ Long Bay, the historic city of Hội An, the Đà Lạt seaside resort, and the beach destination of Nha Trang, will continue with a controlled flow from December. Countries around the world are moving from zero COVID strategy to living safely with it, and Vietnam is no exception, said Patrick Haveman, Deputy Resident Representative of the UN Development Program, or UNDP, in Vietnam.
In a recent interview, Haveman said that the first priority of Vietnam is the health of the people, and with the vaccination rates increasing, the country is slowly opening up its economy. Mentioning the response to the pandemic, he emphasized the need for a more flexible approach, including shorter lockdowns, shorter quarantine periods, and acceleration of vaccinations. According to Patrick Haveman, the UNDP recently launched 2 reports on the socio-economic impact of COVID-19 on vulnerable households in Vietnam and the implementation of the second support package of the government for people affected by COVID-19. Vietnam can support growth, employment, and incomes with a larger cash assistance program for vulnerable households without fear of inflation or a negative impact on the balance of payments. To achieve the twin objectives of supporting vulnerable households and stimulating economic growth, the cash assistance program should be launched as quickly as possible. The quickest way to deliver this support is to provide an immediate benefit to children under 6 years old, pregnant women, elderly people from 60 years of age, and people with disabilities.
The Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam, or CAAV, has proposed the Ministry of Transport to reopen 10 domestic air routes from October 10th. In a report to the MOT, the CAAV said 6 localities have completely agreed with its air route resumption plan, namely the provinces of Điện Biên, Khánh Hòa, Phú Yên, Bình Định, and Thanh Hóa, along with Phu Quoc City of Kiên Giang Province. 4 others comprising Ho Chi Minh City and Đắk Lắk, Nghệ An, and Thừa Thiên Huế provinces showed a partial support, while Hanoi, Hải Phòng City, and Gia Lai Province asked for continued suspension of regular commercial flights. The 10 air routes that could be reopened are the ones between Ho Chi Minh City and Thanh Hóa, Khánh Hòa, Phú Yên, Bình Định, Phú Quốc, Thừa Thiên Huế, and Nghệ An, and the routes between Thanh Hóa and Khánh Hòa, Buôn Ma Thuột City, Đắk Lắk, and Phú Quốc. According to the CAAV's proposal, passengers boarding flights must comply with the 5K principle, make health declaration at places of departure and arrival, and produce certificates of their full vaccination against COVID-19. In particular, passengers must receive their last vaccine dose at least 14 days and no more than 12 months prior to their departure, or they have to show certificates of recovery from COVID-19 no more than 6 months prior to the departure. Vietnam calls on countries and relevant sides to make efforts to address the illicit trade in small arms and light weapons. Ambassador Đặng Đình Quý, Vietnam's permanent representative to the United Nations, said on October the 6th.
Addressing a meeting of the UN Security Council UNSC on small arms and light weapons and peacekeeping operations, Quý said countries hold the biggest responsibility in this field. The root cause of conflicts should be addressed first, he said, stressing the observance of international law, the elimination of injustice and inequality, and the building of trust, friendship, and cooperation between countries. The ambassador reiterated countries' legitimate rights to procuring, producing, transferring, and owning small arms and light weapons for the purposes of national defense and security. Delegates shared the view that illicit transfer and misuse of small arms and light weapons continue to initiate, sustain, and exacerbate armed conflicts and impact security, stability, and socio-economic development in many areas in the world, especially Africa. Many said the UNSC needs to further integrate the fight against illegal small arms and light weapons into conflict prevention, peacekeeping operations, post-conflict reconstruction, anti-terrorism, and cross-border crime combat.
The 14th meeting between senior officials on minerals of 10 Asian countries and China, Japan, and the Republic of Korea, or ROK, was held via video conference on October the 7th.
Nguyễn Thanh Thảo, Deputy Director of the Department of Science, Technology and International Cooperation under the General Department of Geology and Minerals of Vietnam, said that within the ASEAN +3 framework of cooperation, many cooperation activities on mineral exploitation have been implemented and achieved remarkable results. Accordingly, the countries have discussed, agreed on, and carried out cooperation measures to promote effective management in the region towards environmental protection and sustainable development. According to Thảo, in the coming time, ASEAN +3 countries need to support the region's mining industry to recover and develop after COVID-19 pandemic, maintain and strengthen the connectivity of mineral product supply chains in a sustainable and complementary manner, intensifying financial cooperation, making use of science and technology advances, and mobilizing private investment in cooperation in infrastructure development, green finance, and human resource development in the mining industry. Over the years, Vietnam's mining industry has demonstrated its role and position in national socio-economic development and is getting closer to the level of developed countries.
Sportswear giant Nike Group has affirmed that it will continue to expand production in Binh Duong province, said Nguyễn Thanh Toàn, Director of the Department of Industry and Trade of the Southern Industrial Hub. Leaders of the Foreign Investment Agency under the Ministry of Planning and Investment, Ho Chi Minh City, Đồng Nai and Binh Duong had a meeting with Nike representatives on October the 6th on the reopening of production in a safe manner. Currently, many workers in Nike factories have returned to work in the new normal situation. Also on October 6th, the People's Committee of the Southern Province of Long An said that it is striving to have 40% of the total over 13,483 firms with about 370,000 workers resuming operation until October 15. The figure is expected to reach 70% in the end of December. While the demand for traditional coffee is saturated, that for specialty and organic coffee in North European region is still increasing, which is considered a good chance for Vietnamese enterprises to expand coffee export to this market. Last year, the region accounted for 6.5% of Europe's total coffee import volume, with over $16 billion. According to the provisions of the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, or EVFTA, the tax on coffee beans, Vietnam's key product exported to the Nordic market, is 0%, thus helping Vietnamese coffee to have a competitive price. In addition, Buôn Ma Thuột coffee is among 39 Vietnamese products granted with a geographical indication protection by the EU. According to the Vietnam Trade Office in Sweden, although Vietnam is the world's second biggest coffee exporter, Vietnamese coffee is not available in the Nordic market. Over the past time, Robusta coffee has accounted for about 95% of Vietnam's coffee exports. Meanwhile, the Nordic market prefers Arabica coffee. In addition, North European countries are paying attention to sustainable production, while coffee grown in a sustainable manner accounts for only 9% of Vietnam's coffee export volume. The office advised Vietnamese enterprises to consider developing specialty coffee trademark, better marketing strategies, and improve the coffee quality. Various activities are being held to celebrate the 67th anniversary of the Vietnam capital city's liberation from French colonialists, October 10, 1954 to 2021. Since October 7th, the Hanoi Library has been hosting an exhibition of books and publications featuring the history, civilization, and glorious heroic tradition of the city as well as outstanding achievements of Hanoi. Meanwhile, the Văn Hóa newspaper organized an art performance themed Songs Honoring Uncle Ho on October 7th evening at the Hanoi Opera House. Also for the same occasion, the Kim Dong Publishing House has introduced two historical novels entitled Người Thăng Long, The People of Thăng Long, and Khúc Khải Hoàn Giang Dở, Unfinished Victory by writer Ha An, which tell stories about heroes in the Trần Dynasty 1225 to 1400 during the second battle against Mongol invaders. Three other famous historical novels have also been reprinted, including Quê Người, Strange Land, 10 năm, 10 years, and Quê Nhà, Hometown by writer Tô Hoài, depict the land and people of Hanoi from the 20th century to the August Revolution in 1945. And that has wrapped up our program for today. Thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.